Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show tonight, the Karnataka High Court rejects bail for Jayalalithaa as her supporters spend the day in tears, anguished that she'll stay in jail. As Tamil Nadu virtually equates Jayalalithaa with God, has personality cult become entrenched in Indian politics, and is it healthy in a democracy? Also tonight, as the Kerala Congress warns Shashi Tharoor against praising Narendra Modi, Tharoor tells NDTV his criticism of the PM is far greater and that he's being targeted because he's different. You can watch that full interview in about 30 minutes from now. But first, making strong observations, the Karnataka High Court today rejected the bail plea of former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister J Jayalalithaa, saying that corruption amounts to a violation of human rights. The news was met with utter disbelief by her followers, who were almost certain that Jayalalithaa would walk out free today. Across Tamil Nadu, there have been protests against her conviction, ranging from the bizarre to the ridiculous, from people shaving their heads to self-immolations and even schools shutting down.
Ecstasy to agony as the court ruled that their beloved Amma would have to stay in jail. The news broken to many supporters on TV. After protests, fasts, a self-immolation and head tonsuring to protest against Jayalalitha's conviction and incarceration in 66 crore rupees disproportionate assets case, AIADMK supporters were today inconsolable.
இந்த மாதிரி குற்ற செஞ்சவங்களுக்கு தகுந்த பாடம் கற்பிக்கணும் பெயில் வழங்க கூடாதுன்னு இது உங்களுக்கு என்ன கருத்து சொல்ல விரும்புறீங்க
இன்னைக்கு அம்மா வருவாங்க சந்தோஷப்படக்கூடியதுல இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு தீர்ப்பு கொடுப்பேன்னு சொல்றது அந்த நீதிபதிக்கு நாங்க கண்டனத்தை தெரிவிக்கிறோம்
This lady says she condemns that particular
தயாரா இருக்கோம் அம்மா இல்லனா நாங்கள உயிரோட இருக்க மாட்டோம்
This lady says she condemns the judgment. She says the party Kadava hopeful that the court would grant her bail.
The court ruling came amid prohibitory orders imposed outside the court and around the jail where Jayalalithaa has been staying. Denying bail, the judge said that though conditional bail had been given in similar cases by the Supreme Court, the court was going by the Supreme Court's recent comments in corruption cases. The judge quoted the Supreme Court as saying that corruption was a violation of human rights and an enemy of the society.
The public prosecutor giving no objection. And the next step is going to the Supreme Court. The only option of Miss Jayalalithaa is to approach the Supreme Court immediately tomorrow or day after tomorrow.
Veteran lawyer Ramjet Malani, arguing for bail, had pointed out that in a similar case, former Bihar Chief Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav had got bail. But this did not convince the judge, who denied bail, even though the prosecution said no objection to a conditional bail. Will Jayalalithaa, who is no longer Chief Minister and who faces 4 years in jail and a 100 crore rupee fine, now be moved out of the central jail to perhaps a jail in Chennai? Interestingly, the team of senior advocates of Ms. Jayalalithaa today in their arguments in the Karnataka High Court did not touch upon medical grounds during their arguments seeking bail. However, it appears now that she will move Supreme Court seeking bail and also perhaps an appeal against the conviction itself. Meanwhile, with this kind of unprecedented security we're seeing, not just in the Karnataka High Court but in many parts of Bangalore, is a movement out of the central prison in Bangalore to a prison in Chennai on the cards for the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Radhika Iyer in Bangalore with Sam Daniel in Chennai, NDTV.
Well, as we said, there have been massive protests against Jayalalitha's conviction, and today we're now getting reports about sporadic violence in parts of Tamil Nadu, AIADMK workers vandalizing a restaurant, for instance, in Chennai. So it really does tell you something about the cult of personality that has built around Jayalalithaa, and she's not the only one. Across party lines, when you look at party leaders today, there is certainly a personality cult that seems to have been built up, and the question is whether that's healthy for democracy. N. Ram, the former editor-in-chief of The Hindu, joins us tonight straight from Chennai. Also with us this evening, Pawan Verma, Rajya Sabha MP of the JDU, Shahid Siddiqui, the editor of Nai Dunya, C.R. Kesavan, spokesperson of the Congress, Sambit Patra, spokesperson of the BJP, and Mr. Murli Krishna Prasad, secretary of the AIADMK's youth wing. Mr. Ram, to you first. There were wide expectations today that Jayalalithaa would indeed get bail, and we've seen the absolutely anguished reactions by those who support her to the fact that she's not. And in fact, the judge has taken a pretty strong stand on the issue of corruption. Mr. Ram.
Yes, I think she should have been given bail. The denial of bail, I think, was most unfortunate because, you have to look at the jurisprudence of bail in India. And Justice Krishnaiah, perhaps more than anyone else, when he was on the Supreme Court, has spoken to this issue and laid out all the different arguments why the rule should be bail and not jail even after conviction, provided the appeals process was live. And I think very often it depends on judicial discretion with no real guidelines laid down, and you can't you can't say the Supreme Court has said this on corruption and then quickly translate that into a denial. So I think it's most unfortunate. Actually, the response in Tamil Nadu, let's not exaggerate it. I've been around the city today after the denial was known, and it was quite calm. And it's commendable that the present Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu has appealed for calm, underscoring what the former Chief Minister did earlier. And the surprise is, given the fact that emotions are running so high, it's been the atmosphere has been as calm, in fact, as this. Although things are on the boil, no question about it, but there's been a lot of restraint. So let not people outside the state get the impression that this is a bizarre state where people behave in a bizarre way and so on. Yeah.
No, I think the point though is, Shahid Siddiqui, if you can come in on this, that we've seen, a rather hyped up reaction, ever since Jayalalitha's conviction. You can see, posters have come up talking about her, how can, God be punished this way? She's being equated with a god or a goddess. And the kind of worship that goes, as far as Jayalalitha is concerned. When you look at that, is that something you see as a healthy trend? That is the question, Shahid Siddiqui.
No, this trend has been there from the time of Mrs. Gandhi, this ridiculous extreme personality cult, and I think this has been the antithesis of Indian democracy. This has been the biggest threat to Indian democracy, and corruption has seeped in because of this personality cult. And this we see not only in Tamil Nadu, but in Uttar Pradesh, in Bihar, and now in Bengal, and at the center. With the present Prime Minister and with Sonia Gandhi, every party is building on the personality cult, and it has become, in whole of South Asia you see this, and I think we have to counter it if we really want genuine democracy in this country. And with Ms. Jayalalitha, it has always been there. She is the product of personality cult. She was regarded as a goddess, and she is there not because of her political, statesmanship or her contribution to politics of Tamil Nadu, but because of her personality as a film actress and a person who was close to MGR.
So, Mr. Prasad, let me ask you, as a secretary of the AIADMK's youth wing, obviously you admire and have great respect for Ms. Jayalalitha, but, equating her with God, does that take things a little too far? Should you be deifying her, is the question.
See, she's done so many things. She has done so many good things to so many people. Okay, let us just take for an example. Today, hungry people go to Amma canteen and eat. People who can't even make 100 rupees a day, but can survive in Tamil Nadu. That is the greatest thing what she has achieved here. See, that is not possible anywhere. They are talking about cult and all those things. I am just telling you on the face. Just take example of me. I have no political background, but she has given an opportunity to participate in a political party. So like me, there are thousands and thousands of people in this party, not only in this party, people who are benefited by her. So there is absolutely nothing wrong in worshipping her. Who has given, if Lord has given something to someone, I mean, they call it unbased shivam, they call it so many things and so many interpretations. But all I can say
worship. Mr. Prasad, you use the word worship, and therein lies the question that should you be worshipping her? You can respect her, you can certainly admire her, you are her supporter, you are a member of her party, and you have a right to your opinion. But is worship of a personality like this, is it democratic, is the question, Mr. Prasad?
Yes, if somebody does something good to few people, then it is respected from that particular community. She has done it to almost all the part of the community here. She has done it to the youth. She has given laptops. She has given everything. She is absolutely, people here, if you come down here and see, what is not possible by a normal 100 rupees wager. What, he can't get a laptop, he can't get good food, he can't get electricity.
She's God for you, is it, Mr. Prasad?
Absolutely, she's a God for us. No, she will remain God for us throughout her life.
Well, Mr. Ram, I want to take this back to you quickly before I open this up to the other political parties. As such an expert observer of the political scene there, it's not something that's unique to Tamil Nadu either. But your view of this kind of hero worship, of this kind of worship, literally worship of Jayalalithaa?
In a society where there is so much illiteracy and other forms of backwardness, it's not surprising that charismatic people who attain a certain success in politics either build a personality cult around themselves or have it built around themselves. The prime example today is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I mean, I wish that my friend had mentioned his name at the top of the list, because it's a personality cult in the making. All that happened in the US, for example. So I think yes, it has to be combated, but in a consistent way. But may I make the point about bail that we have to be absolutely even-handed, because the DMK leader, I mean, Kanimori spent several months in jail before the trial, and Mr. Raja spent practically 15 months just because there is no clear guideline to decide on bail. The jurisprudence of bail is very unstable in India, notwithstanding what the Supreme Court of India has said.
Mr. Ram, though, what you're saying about bail is a different debate, and I agree that that is an important debate that one must have. But you know, what you're essentially saying is that these personality cults grow because people are illiterate and they don't understand better. However, Pavan Verma, my question is it that, or is it that when these personality cults grow, these are people who also invoke fear in their cadre? I mean, you look at the way, for instance, Mr. Paneer Selvam and his other ministers were breaking down and weeping, at the swearing-in ceremony. People are afraid of Jayalalithaa. Her party people are afraid of her as well. And these are perfectly educated people. They have their political wits about them, but they're scared. Pavan Verma.
Nidhi, I am going to respond to what you have asked today, not as a politician, but as a sociologist. And I am not talking of a matter specific to Jayalalithaa. We are talking of personality cults in Indian politics. It is a power game. In spite of the egalitarian impulses of democracy, we remain a hierarchical societies. Hierarchies have a pinnacle. That pinnacle must set up a system to maintain itself unchallenged by anybody else and to keep reinforcing and consolidating that pinnacle. To do that, you require competitive sycophancy. Sycophancy in turn becomes competitive because it has identifiable rewards. Those who are seen to be sycophantic may be contemned by a minuscule intelligentsia, but they are rewarded by the political leadership. And those rewards are identifiable, so there is an incentive. Therefore, in India, in politics, flattery is never subtle. It must be in your face so that the person who is so flattered is left in no doubt. He may even admonish, or she may admonish you for that flattery, but is inherently pleased because it further reinforces that pinnacle. And the personality cult of personality politics is maintained by 3 or 4 tools. One is to prevent even the remotest notion of dissent. It has to be squashed. Secondly, there has to be centralization of leadership. Thirdly, you have to keep the flock in permanent insecurity, so your actions must be arbitrary. There should be never security in your flock. Fourth, you should never allow a second rung of leadership to develop. And lastly, you must create an atmosphere of complete intellectual inertness, so there is no discussion, dynamic debate, dissent, or any kind of what we would consider to be healthy democracy.
It sounds eerily like the national parties.
This is the notion of personality cult in India. It is not unique to one party or one individual. It is a power game, and it is come down to us from tradition. I mean, even in Ramayana, Tulsidas said that Sur Nara Muni Sabki ye Riti Swarath Lage Kare Hain Priti. So for the sake of self-interest, they betray loyalty, and you can see it often when there are funerals of great leaders. Crowds which are
absolutely.
otherwise laughing and joking, the moment the television camera comes, they start beating their chest.
No.
It is a very, very sad spectacle, one aspect of our democracy.
Yes, and what you described
but this is the reasoning
actually fits in with so many political parties today, whether it is about, the Congress, which some call the original psychophants, the BJP, you have Mr. Modi, who's emerged as a central personality, there's Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal, Mayawati, who brooks no dissent as far as her party is concerned. But I'll take that to Sambit Patra. On this issue, Sambit, of this being a cross-party phenomenon. Today, the BJP, as Shahid Siddiqui was also pointing out and Enram pointed out, it finds itself in a position where there is a cult of Mr. Modi at the center of your party, Mr. Patra.
And that cult must be
Nidhi,
there is a monologue.
Nidhi, there is a great deal of difference. Now, the difference would be, in fact, put in this show by a small example. As far as India is concerned, it's a very emotional country. You would see that the personality cult does not exist just in politics. People love Lata Mangeshkar more than they love anyone else. People love Sachin Tendulkar more than they love anyone else on this face of the earth. People love cine actors and actresses, Chiranjeevi and others, more than they love anyone else. They would not be getting anything in return by loving Sachin Tendulkar. They simply love him because he is just the rock star of cricket. Similarly, in a party like Bharatiya Janata Party, which is a cadre-based party and where the Prime Minister and other important posts are occupied by people who were simple workers once upon a time and whom people in the party have seen growing up, naturally they are loved because of their vision and not because of the fact that we have to be sycophantic towards that particular person. They are loved because they have been rock star in the field in which they are performing. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was welcomed in Madison Square and Mr. N. Ram said that that was psychophancy. I see that that was not personality cult. That was because there was a great deal of vacuum in Indian diplomacy and this Prime Minister fulfilled that vacuum, and that's the result as to why the people in America took him in a way as if he was a rock star, which he deserved.
But Sambit, isn't there a certain hero worship of Mr. Modi within the BJP? I mean, as far as the BJP is concerned and its supporters are concerned, Mr. Modi is their hero. You had chants of Har Har Modi even in the election campaign.
There are two things, Nidhi. Yeah. Nidhi, if there is a hero, then the hero is given the respect of a hero. This is one thing. Second is, one is non-hero and yet he is accorded as a hero. This is the second issue. If Modi has performed as a hero, not only in election but as a Prime Minister, it is the people who are loving him. It's not just the cadres who are loving him. It's also the people of India, the ordinary people of India. So I believe you cannot compare this with what is happening in Congress and other parties, where in spite of the fact that most of the leaders are not actual heroes, they are being accorded as a hero only because of the fact that if the cadre does not do that, then probably they would be noticed, then they would fall out from the books of the party leaders. And what we are seeing today in the pictures of AIA, DMK, I would slightly disagree with what Pawan Verma ji said right now, that people generally do it for a reward. I am seeing old women crying like anything. Probably these old people would hardly get anything. The people whom you are showing, shaving the heads and shouting, eating, celebrating or crying, these are ordinary people. They hardly would get anything. Maybe ministers would get something in return, but at the end of the day, this is an emotional country. So surely,
I'll take that quickly back to Shahid Siddiqui. Shahid Siddiqui, Sambit says we are an emotional country. Maybe he has a point there, because we do tend to, when we do worship our heroes, we really do worship them in that sense. And he gave good examples there of, say, Sachin Tendulkar. But also, do you see a major difference between the way the Congress looks at its leadership today and the BJP?
No, in fact, BJP was suffering from this disadvantage that they didn't have a single leader whom they could hero worship or present before the Gandhi-Nehru family. And that was the disadvantage they were facing in a society which is still a very feudal society. And in a feudal society, you do tend to hero worship. You go for the Raja, and the Raja has to be there to safeguard you, to secure you. He provides you security, emotional, psychological and economic. So they now have successfully been able to build up Narendra Modi ji. Let me give you an example of West Bengal. West Bengal, till Jyoti Babu was there, he was the hero of CPM, and CPM was winning hands down in Bengal. The way Jyoti Babu went out, CPM collapsed. The reason was that it was not for CPM that the vote was coming, it was coming for Jyoti Babu. And the way Jyoti Babu went, his vote came down. Similarly, it's happening here. that BJP has realized that they have to have a single leader in order to face Nehru Gandhi family, in order to face Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi, and they have successfully done that. They have done it very well, and they are moving ahead with this. But unfortunately, ultimately, this leads to a society which is not a very healthy society where accountability suffers.
I'm going to come back to that point with the BJP shortly, but C.R. Kesavan, the Congress is sort of the original perpetrator, as it were, of this culture of the cult of personality. You have mastered it in your party with the way your workers and ministers and others talk about the Gandhi family.
Everybody has given a point of view, and I think I have a little different view from them. In my view, the genesis of this larger-than-life personality cult has its legacy in our freedom movement. Our freedom movement liberated and released our people from the yoke and shackles of the British colonial rule for 50 years. So, I mean, it's very natural and justifiable that the freedom fighters and the founding fathers at the vanguard of a freedom movement were revered, they were idolized, they became role models and sterling examples who were, people wanted to emulate and, follow. And even to this day, you have people named after, Gandhiji, Ambedkar, Nehru, Sarojini Naidu, Subhash Bose, Patel. So, this was a product of the freedom movement in my view. And what has happened is, in India, if you see, it's very interesting, though we opted the Westminster style of, parliament and democracy, you can never deny the fact that it's actually a hybrid. It's an amalgam of Westminster and presidential style of politics, because the politics of India is centered around individuals, and that is I think that's a legacy of a freedom movement. And I heard barbs from my BJP friend.
Why is there is this cult of worship of Rahul Gandhi, for instance, literally in your party? I mean, there are people who want to criticize him more openly, and they can't. I mean, he has nothing to do with the freedom movement. So, why this sort of worship of Rahul Gandhi?
I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued that you take cases in isolation. I mean, this phenomenon, you talk about, cult personality, or even, the concept of dynasty. This is just not restricted to politics. Doctors, you take actors, you take directors, you take musicians, everybody, there are people there. So I think it's very unfair to isolate a particular realm or a domain and say, this is only, confined to this.